The salt-tinged breeze drifted through the open windows of the caretaker's cottage as Lena Matthews set down her paintbrush with a sigh. Another canvas, another failed attempt to capture the breathtaking coastline that stretched beyond the grounds of Serenity Estate. 3 weeks into her summer job as caretaker for one of the most magnificent properties she'd ever seen. And still, the artist in her felt overwhelmed by its beauty. You'd think being surrounded by all this would make painting easier. It's not harder, she murmured to herself, wiping azure paint from her fingers onto her already stained jeans. Sleep eluded her that night. The full moon cast silvery light across the manicured gardens, pulling her outside like a gentle tide. Lena followed the stone path that wound through fragrant jasmine toward the main house. A modernist marvel of glass and steel that seemed to float above the cliffside, the infinity. Pool stretched before her like a mirror to the stars, its edges blending seamlessly with the ocean beyond. The owner, billionaire Adrian Cole, wasn't due back for another month, according to the property manager. The pool lights glowed a soft blue beneath the surface, an irresistible invitation. Just a quick dip, Lena whispered to herself, slipping off her oversized t-shirt to reveal the swimsuit she'd worn underneath for an earlier beach walk. The water embraced her like silk as she slid beneath the surface, emerging at the far edge. Where water met sky, Lena began to sing softly, an old folk song her grandmother had taught her. Her voice carried across the still night air as she floated, eyes closed, imagining she was suspended between earth and stars. "You have a beautiful voice?" The deep voice startled her so completely that Lena swallowed water, coughing as she spun around. A man stood at the pool's edge, tall, with broad shoulders silhouetted against the moonlight, his expression hidden in shadow. "I'm so sorry," she sputtered, moving toward the steps. "I didn't think anyone was here." "I'm Lena, the new caretaker," he finished for her. "Yes, Mrs. Porter mentioned you when I called earlier." Recognition dawned as he stepped into the pool light. The sharp jawline, the intense gray eyes. She'd seen that face in business magazines. "Mr. Cole, I thought you were in Singapore until September." Adrian Cole's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Plans change. Though I admit, I didn't expect to find someone swimming in my pool at midnight." Heat rushed to Lena's cheeks. "I'll gather my things and no need." He moved to the outdoor bar, pouring 2 glasses of water. "Actually, it's refreshing to come home to something other than emptiness." Lena accepted the water he offered, careful to maintain distance. "Still, I shouldn't have assumed. Do you always apologize this much?" There was a hint of amusement in his voice. "Only when I'm caught trespassing by billionaires," she replied before she could stop herself. Adrian laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to surprise even him. "It's hardly trespassing when you live on the property," he gestured toward a nearby lounge chair. "What was that song?" "I didn't recognize it. Just something my grandmother taught me. It was from a small coastal village in Portugal." "It sounded like it belonged here," he said quietly, looking out toward the ocean. "Like you belonged here." The comment hung between them, strangely intimate. Lena studied him covertly, the tension in his shoulders, the careful way he held himself, as if perpetually braced for something. "I'm sorry for disturbing your homecoming," she said finally, rising to leave. "Actually," Adrian said, his voice stopping her, "I've been away too long. Perhaps tomorrow you could show me how the grounds have changed. Say, coffee on the terrace at 8. Lena hesitated, aware of crossing some invisible line between employer and employee. But something in his eyes, a flash of vulnerability, quickly masked, made her nod. "Bring the coffee," she said. "And I'll bring the Danish," he replied, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "Mrs. Porter mentioned you prefer cherry?" As Lena walked back to her cottage, wrapped in the night air, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just begun. Something as vast and unpredictable as the ocean stretching endlessly from the edge of his pool. Asterisk morning light spilled across the terrace, turning the limestone a warm honey gold as Lena arranged the coffee service. Her hands trembled slightly, betraying her nervousness. She'd dressed carefully in her least paint splattered jeans and a simple blue blouse that matched her eyes, professional enough for a meeting with her employer, yet not suggesting she'd made too much effort. "You're punctual," Adrian's voice came from behind her. He appeared more human in daylight, still imposing in his casual linen shirt and tailored pants, but the hard edges of last night had softened. In one hand, he carried a white bakery box. "Military father," Lena explained. "Being late was a cardinal sin in our house." Adrian set the box down, revealing an assortment of pastries. "And being unprepared was mine. I wasn't sure which Danish you preferred, so I brought options." The gesture surprised her. "Thank you, that's thoughtful." They settled into comfortable chairs facing the ocean. Lena poured coffee into delicate porcelain cups that probably cost more than her monthly rent back in the city. "So," Adrian began, watching her over the rim of his cup, "Mrs. Porter tells me you're an artist." "Trying to be," Lena admitted. "I'm more successful at being broke," his eyebrow arched. Honesty. Refreshing. "Would you prefer I pretend my work is hanging in galleries nationwide?" "I'd prefer whatever is true," he replied. "I get enough fabrication in my daily life." Lena nodded toward the sprawling estate. "Is that why you keep this place so far from everything? To escape the fabrication?" Adrian's expression shifted, revealing a glimpse of something raw before. His composure returned. "Partly. Lately, I've wondered if isolation is its own kind of fiction." The conversation flowed easier than Lena expected, touching on the estate's gardens, Adrian's recent business trip, and the local town's summer festival. He listened intently when she spoke, as if cataloging every detail. "Would you show me your paintings sometime?" he asked suddenly. Lena nearly choked on her coffee. "They're not very good." "I didn't ask for a critique, just to see them." "Why?" Adrian considered this. "Because art reveals truth about the artist, and you, ... He paused, studying her. "You're something of a mystery, Lena Matthews." "Says the man who owns 7 homes but lives in none of them," she countered. His laugh was unexpected again, like a gift. Touché. Their morning conversations became a ritual over the next week. Adrian would appear with different pastries, Lena with coffee, and they would talk as the sun climbed higher. She learned he preferred blackberries to raspberries. Read physics journals for relaxation. And supported a dozen children's arts programs anonymously. He learned she had abandoned a promising career in architectural design to pursue painting. Could name every constellation in the summer sky and hadn't. Spoken to her father in 5 years. On the 8th day, storm clouds gathered on the horizon, turning the morning dark and brooding. "It's going to be a bad one," Lena observed, helping Adrian carry the coffee service inside as the first raindrops fell. The storm hit with sudden violence, lashing rain against windows and cutting power to the estate. Lena found herself trapped in the main house as roads flooded, sharing dinner with Adrian by candlelight in his cavernous kitchen. "Does it bother you?" she asked, watching lightning illuminate his profile. "Being cut off from everything?" "Not tonight," he said quietly, his eyes meeting hers across the flickering light. "Tonight it feels like exactly where I'm supposed to be." The storm raged through the night. They talked for hours in his library, surrounded by first editions, and the scent of leather and old paper. Adrian spoke of building his company from nothing, of the loneliness at the top. Lena described the moment she realized her father's dreams for her would never be her own. When she fell asleep on the sofa, Adrian covered her with a cashmere throw, watching the peaceful rise and fall of her breathing. For the first time in years, the emptiness of his house didn't echo back at him. Instead, it seemed to hold its breath, waiting, outside. The storm gradually calmed, but inside, something else was brewing, something neither of them had anticipated when she'd slipped into his pool on that moonlit night, disturbing the still waters of his carefully controlled life. "I have something to show you," Adrian said one evening, 3 weeks after their first midnight encounter. His voice carried an unusual note of hesitation as he led Lena down a corridor she hadn't explored during her caretaking duties. "West Wing," Lena teased, trying to lighten his suddenly serious mood. "Should I be worried about a beast with a curse?" A faint smile touched his lips. "Nothing so dramatic, just something private." They stopped before an unmarked door with a biometric scanner. Adrian placed his palm against it, and the door slid, opened silently, revealing darkness beyond. He stepped inside, and lights automatically illuminated a space that made Lena's breath catch. "Oh my God," she whispered, stepping forward. "This is... My gallery," Adrian finished, watching her reaction closely. Before them stretched a museum-quality collection of contemporary art sculptures, paintings, installations, all displayed with perfect lighting and spacing. Unlike the impersonal, corporate art that decorated the rest of the house, these pieces vibrated with emotion and life. "These aren't investments," Lena said, turning slowly to take in the room. "These are loved." Something in Adrian's expression softened. "You see that? Most people don't." Lena moved from piece to piece, recognizing works by both famous artists. "And obscure talents? How did you choose them?" "Each one marked a moment," he said, following her. "A turning point, a memory, sometimes a wound." She stopped before a small, haunting portrait of a woman with eyes the color of dark honey. The brushwork was exquisite, the emotion palpable. "This one feels different from the others." Adrian stood very still beside her. "That's Sophia," he said quietly. "My wife." Lena turned to him, stunned. Nothing in her research about Adrian Cole had mentioned a wife. "I didn't know you were married." "I'm not. Not anymore." His voice was controlled, but pain flickered across his features. "She died 5 years ago. Cancer." "So sorry," Lena said, instinctively reaching for his hand before catching herself. Adrian looked down at her half-extended hand, then deliberately took it in his. "This is the only portrait of her I kept." The artist captured something everyone else missed, her inner light. They stood like that, hands joined, the portrait watching them with knowing eyes. Adrian gradually told Lena about Sophia, their whirlwind romance, 3 years of marriage, her diagnosis, and the 11 months that followed. How he'd built this seaside estate because she'd once mentioned wanting to fall asleep to the sound of waves. "After she died, I couldn't stand to be here, but I couldn't sell it either." "So you travel constantly and hire caretakers," Lena finished. Gently he nodded, finally releasing her hand. "Until this summer?" The unspoken question hung between them. Why this summer was different. Later that night, Lena's phone buzzed with a text from her friend Olivia. "How's life with the mysterious billionaire? Has he proposed yet?" Lena stared at the message. Unsettled by how it trivialized whatever was growing between her and Adrian, she typed back, "It's not like that. He's complicated. They're all complicated, honey. Especially the rich ones. Just be careful you're not setting yourself up for it." Heartbreak, the warning resonated uncomfortably. Lena set her phone aside and walked to her cottage window, looking toward the main house where a single light still burned in Adrian's study. What was she doing? In 2 weeks her contract would end. She would return to her tiny apartment, her struggle to make ends meet while pursuing her art, and Adrian would... What? Return to his empire building? Find another caretaker? The next morning Lena rose early and set up her easel on the cliffside, determined to capture the sunrise. She was so absorbed in mixing the perfect coral gold for the horizon that she didn't hear Adrian approach. "You never showed me your work," he said, startling her. Lena instinctively moved to block his view of the canvas. "It's not finished." "Neither am I," he said with unexpected vulnerability. "Maybe that's why I'm interested." Something in his words made her step aside. Adrian studied the painting intently, her interpretation of the estate at dawn, the main house, a dark silhouette against a sky breaking open with light. "You've painted it lonely," he observed. Lena looked at her work with fresh eyes. "I suppose I have." Is that how you see this place? How you see me?" The directness of his question caught her off guard. "I think," she began carefully, "I think this place has been waiting for something, or someone." Adrian's eyes held hers. "And what about its owner?" Before Lena could answer, her phone chimed with a reminder. "I have to go into town," she said suddenly. Flustered, supply run. As she gathered her materials, Adrian touched her arm lightly. Lena, there's a charity gala in the city tomorrow night. Would you consider attending with me? The invitation hovered between them, a step beyond their private world into the reality of his public life. Lena hesitated, Olivia's warning echoing in her mind. As your caretaker? She asked, needing clarity. Adrian's expression grew serious. No, as my guest. As yourself. The gala was a glittering affair at the city's modern art museum. Lena smoothed the midnight blue dress Adrian had sent to her cottage, a simple, elegant design that somehow fit perfectly. She felt like an imposter. Among the wealthy and powerful who greeted Adrian with calculated smiles while eyeing her curiously. Relax, Adrian murmured, his hand warm against her lower back as he guided her through the crowd. You belong here more than most of them. Actually care about the art. Indeed, while others networked and posed for photos, Lena found herself drawn to the exhibition pieces. Adrian watched her with undisguised pleasure, introducing her not as his caretaker but simply as Lena Matthews, an extraordinary artist. You shouldn't say that, she whispered after one such introduction. I'm hardly extraordinary. I disagree, he replied. See the world differently? That's rare. As the evening progressed, Lena noticed a striking woman watching them intently. Eventually she approached, kissing Adrian on both cheeks with practiced familiarity. Francesca, Adrian acknowledged, his tone cooling noticeably. I didn't expect to see you here. Clearly, the woman replied, assessing Lena with a swift glance. Aren't you going to introduce us? Francesca Devereaux, Lena Matthews, Adrian said tersely. Francesca is the VP of Acquisitions for Coal Industries. Ah! And an old friend, Francesca added with a pointed smile. Adrian and I go way back. Before Sophia, after Sophia. ... We have history. Lena felt Adrian tense beside her. Francesca, enough. Come now. Surely your new ... companion knows about your wife? About how you shut everyone out after she died? Francesca's perfect smile didn't reach her eyes. Has he told you why? He really built that ridiculous house by the sea, my dear. I think I'll get some air, Lena said quietly. Extracting herself from the suddenly charged atmosphere, on the museum's rooftop garden, Lena gazed at the city lights, trying to process her feelings. The night had revealed so much about Adrian's world, its wealth, its politics, its sharp edges. Where did she fit in this reality? I apologize for Francesca, Adrian said, appearing beside her. She and I, there was a brief involvement after Sophia died. It was a mistake. You don't owe me explanations, Lena replied, don't I? His voice was soft. Lena, my contract with you ends in 10 days. The reminder landed like a stone in still water. Yes, I know. What happens then? She turned to face him. I go back to my life. You go back to yours? Is that what you want? The question hung between them, charged with possibilities neither had dared voice. What I want, Lena said carefully, is to understand what's happening here. With us, you're still grieving Sophia. I'm still finding my way as an artist. Our worlds couldn't be more different. Adrian moved closer, his expression more open than she'd ever seen it. When Sophia was dying, she made me promise something. Not that I would never love again. She was too generous for that. She made me promise I wouldn't hide from life. His voice roughened. For years, I kept only the letter of that promise. I built the business, traveled, existed, but I wasn't living. Not until ... double quotes. Until I came home early from Singapore and found a woman singing in my pool under the moonlight. The simplicity of his confession took her breath away. Adrian, there you are. Francesca's voice cut through the moment as she approached with a photographer in tow. The board members want a photo with the evening's biggest donor. Adrian hesitated, clearly torn. Go, Lena encouraged. It's fine. As he reluctantly left with Francesca, Lena overheard the other woman say, Really, Adrian? Another artistic type? We both know how that ended last time. Some people aren't built for your world. The words stung with their hint of truth. During the car ride back to the estate, silence stretched between them. Adrian seemed lost in thought, occasionally glancing at Lena as if wanting to speak but finding no words. The following days brought a subtle distance. Adrian disappeared into conference calls and meetings, while Lena focused on preparing for her departure. When they did interact, a new awkwardness had settled between them, as if the gala had made real what had previously existed in the bubble of Serenity Estate. On her penultimate day, Adrian knocked on her cottage door, holding a thick envelope.
What's
"This?" Lena asked, taking it cautiously. "Open it." Inside was a letter of recommendation to the prestigious Whitman Gallery, along with an invitation to their emerging artist program. "Adrian, this could change everything for me. You deserve the opportunity," he said formally. "Your talent shouldn't be hidden." Lena studied his face, searching for what remained unspoken. "Thank you," she said finally. As he turned to leave, she called after him. "Was Francesca right about artists not belonging in your world?" Adrian stopped, his back to her. "Sophia was a photographer," he said quietly, "not professionally. She never had the confidence. After she got sick, she refused to let the disease define her final months. Instead, she traveled with me, taking photographs, capturing beauty, until the very end." He turned back, his expression raw with remembered pain. "When she died, I couldn't bear to look at a camera, at any art. It reminded me of everything I'd lost. A pause. Until you." "Adrian, I'm not Sophia." "No," he agreed. "You're not. And I'm not the man I was then either." He stepped forward, taking her hands. "I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'll ever be completely ready. You're died. But I do know that when you leave tomorrow, something essential goes with you." Lena felt tears threatening. "I have to go," she whispered. "I can't become dependent on all this, on you. My art, my independence, they're all I have that's truly mine." Adrian nodded slowly, releasing her hands. "I understand," he said, though his eyes told a different story. "More than you might think." As he walked away, Lena was left holding the envelope, a passport to the future she'd always wanted. Yet somehow it felt hollow without the man who'd made it possible. Dawn broke over Serenity Estate as Lena placed the last of her bags in her aging hatchback. The morning held a heavy stillness, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She'd left her cottage key on the kitchen counter, along with a note for Adrian. Simple words of gratitude that failed to capture everything she felt. He hadn't appeared to say goodbye. Perhaps it was better this way, she told herself. Cleaner. No messy emotions to complicate her return to reality. As she closed the car trunk, a familiar voice came from behind her. "Were you really going to leave without saying goodbye?" Lena turned to find Adrian standing there, looking as if he hadn't slept. "I left you a note," she said quietly. "I don't want a note," he replied, moving closer. "Lena, I've been awake all night, thinking about what you said about independence." She crossed her arms protectively. "And you were right. You need your space, your own path." He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. "But I was thinking about what independence really means. It's not isolation. It's not refusing connection. It's having the freedom to choose your connections." Lena felt something unraveling inside her chest. Hope, fear, possibility. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Adrian continued, his voice gaining strength, "that I don't want to be your employer or your benefactor. I want to be your partner, in whatever way makes sense." "Partners," Lena repeated, testing the word. "Come with me," he said, suddenly extending his hand. "One last place I need to show you." Curious despite herself, Lena followed him down the path toward the infinity pool where they'd first met. But Adrian led her past it to a small building she'd assumed was a pool house. Inside, she gasped. The space had been transformed into an artist studio, north-facing windows, professional lighting, storage for canvases, and every supply an artist could dream of. "I had it prepared weeks ago," Adrian admitted. "Not to bribe you to stay, but because... ... He hesitated. "Because I wanted you to have a place that was truly yours, here or not." Lena touched an easel, emotion closing her throat. "It's perfect." "There's more," Adrian said, opening a side door. Beyond was a small gallery space, On the walls hung 3 of Lena's paintings works she'd completed during her stay and stored in her cottage. "How did you, Mrs. Porter helped?" he confessed. "I hope you don't mind." Lena shook her head, overwhelmed. "I had them professionally framed because they deserve to be seen that way," Adrian continued. "Even if only by me. They're not my best work," Lena said automatically. Adrian smiled. "They're honest. That makes them valuable." He grew serious again. "Lena, I don't know what happens next. I only know that when I'm with you, I feel like I'm keeping my promise to Sophia, truly living, not just existing." Lena studied him, this complex man who'd entered her life so unexpectedly. "I still need to go," she said finally. His face fell, but he nodded. "I understand." "No," she continued, taking his hand. "I need to go because I have a gallery interview in the city tomorrow, thanks to you. And I need to sublet my apartment and arrange to move my things." She took a deep breath. "The offer of partnership is still open." Adrian's expression transformed, hope breaking across his features like sunrise. "The caretaker position has been filled," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "But I hear the estate owner is looking for an artist in a residence, with her own studio and complete artistic freedom." "And what does the artist get in return?" Lena asked, moving closer. "A home by the sea, a space to create, and a man who's learning how to live again one day at a time. It sounds like a fair exchange," she whispered. Adrian reached out, his fingers tracing her cheek with reverence. "I've spent 5 years surrounded by emptiness, Lena, even in crowded rooms, even building an empire. Then you slipped into my pool one night and filled everything with your voice, your perspective, your light." "I'm not perfect," Lena warned. "I'm stubborn and moody when I paint, and sometimes I doubt everything." "I'm not asking for perfect," Adrian replied. "I'm asking for real." As the morning sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the estate grounds, Adrian and Lena stood together in the studio he'd created for her. Through the windows, the infinity pool shimmered in the distance, its waters meeting the horizon in a seamless blend of blues, a reminder of boundaries crossed and worlds merged. "Stay," Adrian said simply. "Create, be independent, and be with me. Both are possible." Lena looked out at the ocean, then back at the man before her. No longer the remote billionaire, but a partner offering not luxury, but understanding. Not possession, but freedom. "I'll stay," she said. "Not because of this," she gestured to the studio, "but because of you. Because somehow, in this enormous place, you made room for me exactly as I am." Adrian pulled her gently into his arms, his heartbeat strong against her cheek. "Welcome home," he whispered, and as they stood there, bracing in the light-filled studio overlooking the sea, Lena knew they were both beginning something new, a canvas neither could have created alone. Painted with the colors of second chances and unexpected love,